I'm not too sure.
Okay. And in terms of equity, is there going to be any equity in the house when you take out that mortgage?
Yeah, we're not looking to approximately 50% equity.
From that 50% equity, is that coming from marital funds or his separate funds?
Separate funds.
And how is that possible?
Well, I'm looking to pull out a loan to cover that in my name.
Yeah, but I just asked you about the loan, whether the loan is what the loan debt ratio is.
Mr. Markowitz, I'm wondering if maybe that the depth of your questions, while they are great questions, might be
A little bit too
much for this applicant, because this applicant isn't the one going through the divorce, he's the son. So he might not have that information, so maybe if some of these are certain documents that you could request from the applicant and then review them.
But you understand the reason why I'm asking.
No, I 100%
Does it say it's a hardship?
But now, I mean, from one attorney to another, you're asking, this gentleman who is not an attorney, how certain funds are constituting marital funds or not constituting marital funds, which is beyond his area of expertise.
Fair enough.
So, I mean, so at this point now, and this question, I guess, would be, if I may, for Mr. Apple. Mr. Apple, based on the alleged hardship of financing, would the applicant be willing to submit a copy of their financials, the loan paperwork, et cetera, basically to address Mr. Markowitz's questions?
The loan, he'll have to submit whatever you request in order to attempt to get his approval. If you're requesting it, he'll submit it.
Okay, so that's what we've
I
asked.
have no further questions.
Okay, so do any of the members of the board have any questions for Mr. Vecino?
No.
All right, if that concludes your presentation, I'm going to ask the audience if anybody would like to come up and speak. Let the record show that no one has come up to speak in favor or against. Case.
I'm really sorry, it's, for the sake of clarity, Mr. Markowitz, are you requesting those documents from the applicant?
No.
Okay, so, Mr. Apple, you heard that, right? Okay.
Mr. Apple, I'm actually going to go on the record and say I believe that it would be beneficial to the board if they could have a copy of those documents, because based on the hardship alleged, I think that it would help them to determine. So if that could happen, I genuinely think that it would be beneficial. Now, I obviously don't have a vote in this. I don't know if the board disagrees with me, and if they do, then by all means, feel free to do
Mr. Apple, I would like the statement of net worth that was filed in the divorce. That's what I would like. His statement of net worth that was filed in the divorce.
I'll request it.
Okay.
Okay. The case remains open for voting. Go on to the next case.
Yes.
3482.
Case number 3482, application of Cameron Porgal of 550 East Harrison LLC of 3 Guys Lane, Old Westbury, New York, for a variance from the following sections of the zoning code of ordinances of the city of Long Beach, New York. 9-105.7B height, 9-113.2A off-street parking, curb cut size, in order to maintain new construction conditions at 550 Harrison Street, Long Beach, New York, also known as Section 59, Block 164, Lot 27 on the Nassau County Land and Tax Map.
Robin, I have a couple handouts real
great.
quick. Sorry.
Yeah, I know.
So you know you make me happy.
Yeah, that one's, it's.
You make
it
me
shows
happy.
This one's really good higher education.
No,
Yeah.
I just said that was above his head.
Michael's real estate, what do you do, want to know? That's your thing.
Adult entertainment.
Adult entertainment.
Did you give Mr. Apple some of the
I know.
Mr. Apple, it's been a tough couple of presentations. Would you like some peppermint bark? It's addicting.
I'm trying to cut down, I appreciate it.
It's sugar.
First I have to ask where it came from. I'm kidding.
I made it especially.
Especially for him.
So you try it first and then
I had 2 pieces. It's like a brick.
sorry, it's the cop case.
I'll pass them down, Robin.
No, they already have it.
It's a packet for the plan.
Oh, you guys will have this?
Yes.
Sorry?
Everyone just got 3 pieces of paper.
Oh, okay. I didn't see that, I'm sorry, you guys are right there, Robin.
Okay.
I think you might have some of that with the plans, but I just want to show the height comparisons on those, and I'll get into that in the presentation. Kenneth Apple for the applicant. He's seeking, was seeking 2 variances, one for height, one for curb cut at 550 East Harrison. My client has instructed me to withdraw the off-street parking curb cut variance. He's willing to bring that back to code, so that's off the table. The only thing we will be seeking is the height. Just a little background, this home was owned by an old Long Beach homeowner. It was in a little bit of a disrepair. He purchased it in September of 2024 and constructed a brand-new FEMA-compliant home, as you can see from the pictures, which is a tremendous upgrade to the block and certainly to the surrounding homes. A little bit about my client. He's built approximately 150 homes in his career, and this is the first time he's ever come to a board to ask for any kind of variance for a correction from an error. Historically, myself, I presented 2 cases where there was a builder's error, one at 269 Neptune and one at 66 Virginia, which the board so graciously granted because it was the one bite of the apple. This is my client's first time appearing in front of you and basically asking for forgiveness for this 2-foot miscalculation. A big consideration of this error is that he's not profiting from this error. 1.5 feet of it is due to the overbuild of the FEMA level, which is completely unusable. And I think each of the floors have an extra 3 inches. So it's not like he built an extra 2 feet on a floor, and now he's selling this house with cathedral ceilings and is going to make a profit on this. This was a clear error. He'll explain how it happened through the carpenter and through himself, and he's extremely remorseful about it. But again, to correct it is going to be exorbitant. He can't cut the roof line because the mechanicals are up there. If he does that, he's going to have to move everything. And again, it's the 1.5 feet is the difference. It's in the FEMA level, and I think each floor is only 8.3, not instead of the 8. So, like I said, it's an exorbitant fix. There are some homes directly in the neighborhood. I presented those to you, which have similar heights and similar roof pitches and peaks. 420 East Harrison, 433 East Harrison, 618 Franklin, 703 Neptune, and 707 Neptune. All of them except for 707 Neptune exceed his overall height. 707 Neptune is really close. This one is 35.4 at peak. So I don't think it's going to stick out like a sore thumb due to this error. I don't think it's going to create any undesirable change to the neighborhood. You can't even notice it. I drove by this a bunch of times. And again, it's a new FEMA-compliant, beautiful home that replaced the old, dilapidated home. Obviously now, he created this. We know he created it. But there's no other way to correct it other than, like I said, an exorbitant fix where he's going to have to move mechanicals and do all kinds of reconstruction on this home. Another reason why he got rid of the curb cut is we wanted to make this presentation to the board as simple as possible. We didn't want to have to go for any additional variances, so we're going to be in compliance with that, like I said. We don't think it's substantial. At the end of the day, had this been on the plans, he would have come to the board, and just from experience, probably would have been granted. I mean, obviously, I can't guarantee that, but it's not, 2 feet is really, it's not ridiculously substantial. And I certainly don't think that it's going to have any adverse effect on the neighborhood, environmentally, physically. Nobody's here really kicking and screaming about it. It's a beautiful home if you've driven by it. And like I said, his only mistake was it was a mistake on the build. There's no benefit to him financially in this. If he wanted to get over and put an extra 1.5 feet on a floor and was gonna make money on it. I see there would be much more resistance to approving it, but an extra 1.5 foot on a FEMA level doesn't do him any good whatsoever. It's not even like he would do it to get a view on the top. You don't have any views up there, he's on Harrison Street. So it's not even, that can't even be a reason why he would have done it. He'd like to speak and explain himself, and certainly any questions as to how this can happen could be asked him directly. Like I say, he's an experienced builder, he's built 150 homes, and this is his first time. And traditionally, certainly from my own experience, the board's been willing to grant that one bite of the apple. If we came back a second time, I think that my position on the results would be much different. But I'd like him to speak unless you have any questions for me.
Yeah, Mr. Apple, I just wanted to ask you, to your knowledge, basically when this whole construction was going on, was there correspondence with the building department in terms of there were errors that were going on? Were there ever, let's say, correspondence with building inspectors or anything that basically was telling him that work was being done that was not in conformity or conformance, and that a work order was, the stop work order was issued, but the construction still continued? So my question is that did the applicant, or to your knowledge, did the applicant have opportunities to stop the construction at certain points as he was directed that would have saved him or would have been enabling him to correct these problems before they continued to escalate further?
The answer to your question honestly is I have no knowledge of that, and certainly, you could
Okay.
ask my
So
client.
maybe when the applicant comes up.
Yeah, I
we can
personally
ask.
have no knowledge of that.
Okay. Anybody else on the board, or can we introduce the applicant? Yeah. Okay.
Good evening, Cameron Porgol, 3 Guys Lane, Old Westbury, New York. I'm the owner and builder of the subject property. The house has a mistake on the first floor, street level. No additional square footage benefit has been caused by this mistake. There is no benefit to me. The rest of the house complies. The house was built according to zoning. I have actually built the house 3 foot smaller than what I was allowed, trying to be more neighborly. And as it was mentioned by my attorney, this is the first time I'm coming to this board after building here for over 40 years, asking for mercy for my mistake.
Mr. Porgel, when did you learn of the mistake? Like how long, like when was it that you learned that the house was built too
The
high?
height was discovered during framing inspection.
Oh, do you know when that was? Like recently or
Maybe 4 months ago.
4 months ago? Okay.
So during framing inspection, already plumbing is done, electric, all the work is done. They come, that's when it happens.
Okay, and when it was discovered, were you instructed that, like, hey, like, maybe you should address, when it was discovered 4 months ago, did anybody advise you or instruct you at that time, like, hey, like, this is too
Yes.
high? Like,
Yes, I was advised that it was too high, but my condition would not make any difference. The house was built already. Everything was up. The only way was to cut the leg off, either the leg or the roof. And for the 2 foot of the additional height that I have to cut the roof by 4 feet to comply, because the way they measure the height is by mid-rafter. So, and by doing that, I don't have any room for my utilities up on the top floor. Is somewhat makes it impossible. It could be done, but very difficult, and also makes the house quite ugly.
understand. See, the problem that I'm having, Mr. Porgel, is that on July 1st, the building department issued a stop work order, told you that it was too high, and also that the driveway was too wide, said all work needed to cease at the property. And then I have correspondence from July 7th from Inspector Shu between him and you saying, you asked him what you needed to do. And he told you you needed to come to this board and you needed to bring the house in conformance, to which your response was, wow. To which his response from that, also on July 7th, was no. Wow is the fact that I just drove by the property and I observed people are still framing and they're still doing plumbing and interior finish work in violation of a stop work order. So the issue that I'm having is the fact that while now that the house is finished and it would be incredibly expensive to lower the house to 2 feet 4 inches approximately that it is, because it's done. If you complied with the stop work order and addressed it then, yeah, it might have been a financial impact, but at that time, it would have been a heck of a lot cheaper to remedy it then.
No difference.
Okay, well,
The only difference would be I'd be stuck in the winter time.
I'll tell you what the
neighbors
difference,
will be-
well, allow me to tell you what the difference is. The difference is that with variances, there are 5 factors that the board is allowed to consider. The second department, which is the appellate body that governs the law for this district, has case law directly on point that allows for a 6th factor. And that 6th factor is when stop work orders are violated. If the board uses that to deny a variance, that is justified, and it's very defendable in court. So to you, it might not matter, but you know what? This board has been asked for forgiveness a bunch of times for these honest mistakes. Now, it might not be, I'm not saying it was you, but you know what? A lot of times people make these mistakes and then they just beg for forgiveness with the intention that the board's just going to go their way because it would cost me way too much money, you know, to lower the house. But the thing is, you knew, and now here we are, it's almost January of 2026, it's December 2025, and in fact, the last email that I have says, I will be lowering the house to conform, working on updated plans. I will not go to the zoning board. Your words, not
Okay.
mine.
But then after I realized that I cannot do anything, I decided to just finish and go to the zoning board.
Okay, but that was on July 8th, so you realized it was the next day?
It was filed, we were scheduled for a meeting last month, but for some reason
July
it got
7th.
postponed.
I have the dates right here. Your email was dated July 7th. I would like to bring the house to compliance, but I need some advice as to the simplest way. It would be appreciated. Mr. Shu, on July 8th, you must appear, good morning. There's not much to advise. Please appear before the ZBA to explain the situation. Build the home according to the approved plans and submit new plans for review to show how you will now conform to the zoning and building code. You will need to have a conversation with Mr. D'Alessio to come up with a new plan. Your response, July 8th, 2 hours later at 11:35 a.m., one word, wow. Mr. Shu's response, 1 hour after that, no, I was driving by the project and observing people still working when a stop work order was issued. And then that same day at 2:30 p.m., your response to that was not that, you know, he made a mistake or that you were honoring the stop work order. It was, you didn't address that. You just said, I will be lowering the house to conform, working on getting updated plans. It's the last correspondence that I have. And now we're here. So this was not a surprise.
No, I'm
I have no other questions.
not disagreeing with what you're saying.
Does anyone else on the board have any questions for Mr. Porgal?
May I speak?
You may speak, of course.
So Mr. Shu gave you all this information.
Yes,
Did
this
he
is-
tell you also that he comes in the office and curses me in front of everybody? Does he put it in his
Honestly-
emails?
honestly,
Does he do that?
Okay. You know
It's
what?
very, very interesting that you
So-
have all this correspondence, but
He came
everybody
to your
misses that
office
you're
and cursed
dealing
at you?
with.
Do you have anything? Do you have any witnesses, any
Yes,
statements,
all,
any affidavits?
the entire staff.
Please yell at me. It's going to get you really far.
I'm not yelling, I'm sorry. I'm a little upset because you only heard what is written in the emails. But
Documented
in-
evidence that I have in admissible
Okay.
form, yes, that's what I have.
All right, but regardless of, and I do respect what you have, correct? If I would have stopped the time that he was told me, all it would have done, and also I went to his office many times to
So the
meet with
laws don't
him.
matter. If you would have stopped when he told you to stop, it wouldn't have worked for you.
Okay.
So it doesn't matter. The regulations don't matter. Mr. Porgal does what Mr. Porgal wants to do, is what I'm hearing.
Okay. I guess you have made your decision.
I have a question, sir.
I don't, Mr. Porval, I don't have a vote.
Okay.
I'm the attorney to this board. I do
Okay.
not vote.
Okay.
I could say, deny this man, and they could all disagree and approve it.
Okay.
I'm just letting you know what my position, what my thoughts are,
Okay.
and
Thank
placing
you.
it on the record. So if in fact this does go to court, I stand a pretty good chance of winning, in my opinion.
Thank you.
You handed us this, I'm not really
Yes,
sure what
it's before and after. I have a bigger picture here.
So the one on the right is meant to show what, if you do
Yes,
lower
this is
the,
before and after.
if you do lower it, that's what it's gonna look like.
Yes. This is, if you prefer to see this on the block, this is the before and after.
And so you said you have mechanical stuff up there,
Yes.
but you didn't have mechanical stuff when,
It was there.
when Mr.
My-
Shu told
my
you to
plot-
stop.
Yes, my plot.
If you were getting a framing,
Framing, during
Inspection,
framing
you would
inspection,
not have
all
mechanical-
rough plumbing, rough electric, everything is in place.
not equipment on the roof, right? I mean, you're not gonna tell me that a framing inspection, you already have mechanical equipment.
I have the
on top.
ductworks and everything there.
Ductwork, but not mechanical equipment.
No mechanical equipment,
Okay,
no.
so you didn't have mechanical equipment when you were told that you were building something, and you still didn't stop. You still bought the mechanical equipment and put it up there.
Correct.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Yes.
So I have one question.
Yes.
When you poured the foundation and you poured the walls, it's concrete walls on the
No.
street level?
No,
Or
this
it
is where
framed?
the mistake is actually. I can explain.
No, no, I'm just asking, on the first floor, the garage level,
Yes.
is it poured concrete?
If you don't want, if you're finished with your question,
No,
I'll answer.
I just want to know, because if it's
Okay,
poured concrete,
No.
don't you have a surveyor come in to?
Okay. The
to-
way I did the foundation is not all concrete. The concrete, the wall comes out of the ground, and I frame the balance of it. It's not an 8 foot of concrete. So, and my mistake was I misread the number on the concrete part, and I added 8 foot on top of that.
But did you have, like, again, when you
Okay,
pour the
so the-
concrete, didn't you have a survey for elevation to make sure you knew what you
The
were building
elevation,
off
the-
that
the-
elevation?
It happens after my wall went up. The foundation is in 2 parts. There's concrete part, and then there's wood frame wall that goes on top. So all the other homes that I've done, I've followed the same formula. My foundation comes out about 8-10 inches from the ground, and then I put 8 foot of wood frame on top of that to make the foundation wall. This one, the concrete part of it was 2 feet out of the compared to the sidewalk. That's where my mistake is, and I didn't catch it. This is why I have a 9-foot basement, which I don't need. There is no reason for me to have it. That's why I'm here in front of the board, is because of the mistake at the first level. There's no use for that height, 0.
I have a couple of quick questions.
Yes,
Would you be able, I forget cost, putting cost aside, would you be able to correct this problem?
yes.
Okay. Next question. It's a mistake. You say it's a mistake.
I'm sorry,
You say it's a mistake.
yes.
I believe you. Do you have insurance to cover that?
No,
Why?
there's no insurance for stupidity.
It's not stupidity, it's a mistake. It's different.
Yes,
Okay.
if there was stupid insurance, everybody will be running very happy.
Okay. Thank you.
This is a,
Okay.
and again,
Members of the board,
I'd like
okay.
to show you what, there are many homes in the area that is considerably higher than mine. When you pass by it, you don't stop and look at it and say, wow, look at these houses, they are so tall. These houses are taller than mine. For whatever reason, I got flagged. I have made a mistake, but I got flagged. All these homes are over a foot taller than my house. But nobody has said anything, and nobody feels any different about it. And the neighbors that live in the area, they go about their life with no problem. It's not a violation that causes hardship to other people. It is a mistake. I'm sorry about it. If you can help me out, it's much appreciated. It comes just to that.
Have you sold the house yet, sir?
No.
Okay. Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to speak in favor or against? Okay, let the record show that there's no one in favor or against. I guess the case is going to remain open for voting. Are there any additional documents that we want? I don't see any that have been.
One thing that might be considered, if I may, Mr. Apple,
Yes.
I know in the past with larger scale projects that have made mistakes, settlement was reached via community benefits. I'm not saying that that's required, you know, I cannot make such a requirement, but I'm just wondering if there's any way forward to make it beneficial for everyone involved.
I will discuss that.
Okay.
In addition, just lastly, and I know I've said this before in this kind of scenario, I guess just get the last word, so to speak, but, you know, I think that, I understand what the council presented that transpired, but I think I'm asking the board, and I think my client is asking the board to just look at the application in and of itself. If we were to come here in the summer, it probably would have been granted. So, at the end of the day, someone's gonna buy this house and live here. I mean, that's really what we're asking, so. But to your point, I'll discuss that with him.
And just to respond to that, if, I know you did, and I apologize, and there is a fact, and there is some merit that maybe if the applicant came in the summer, it would have had a stronger point to be granted. But once stop work orders are violated and the building department and the work orders will stop that, it's viewed differently. Thank you, Mr. Apple.
Thank you, Mr. Up.
Case number 3261, application of Lorraine DiGilio and Barry Esposito of 128 Atlantic Avenue, Long Beach, New York, for a variance in the following sections of the zoning code of ordinances of the city of Long Beach, New York. 9-105.6A use, 9-105.6H density, 9-1121 off-street parking, for renewal of a 2-year conditional temporary variance, number 3261, for a 2-family use at 128 Atlantic Avenue, Long Beach, New York, also known as Section 59, Block 196, Lot 10, on the Nassau County Land and Tax Map.
Good evening. Your name and address, please, for the record. You want to step up to the podium?
Sure.
Yeah.
Lorraine DiGilio, 128 Atlantic Avenue, Long Beach, New York, 11561.
Okay. So you're here for the renewal, basically, or the renewal of your 2-year, temporary conditional variance for a 2-family.
Yes,
So
sir.
can you just remind the board what the condition was that you needed the conditional
Well, this is
variance in
our
the first
second-
place for the benefit of the members who are not on the board?
Yeah, this is our second renewal. So initially, when we purchased the house, it was in COVID, and Mr. Esposito had an architectural business, and we moved to Long Beach, and because of COVID, he had to sell, relinquish his business, and so then it became a hardship for us, and it was just a terrible situation in COVID. So, and hasn't been any changes, we just the same thing. We're both
Okay, so-
retired now.
So basically, what happened was, as I understand it, because of a financial situation, you were forced basically to get a temporary conditional variance to basically have the 2-family usage. What have you been doing to supplement your income then with the house? Do you have a steady tenant in the house? Yeah. How often do you, do you have leases for the tenants? Do you have a tenant that stays there? For how long are the leases?
Sometimes it's a year, like now we have someone for a year.
Okay, now, you also reside in the house,
Yes,
am I
sir.
correct? So you reside in one apartment, and then you have a tenant in the other apartment. How big is that apartment?
The apartment downstairs is 1 bedroom, 1 living room, and a bathroom.
Okay. I have one little question. So now, would this be the lovely apartment on the beach that you have that is listed on the Airbnb?
I can't
Here
see.
you go,
Yeah.
Robin.
You want to hand it to them?
Yes, sure.
Because it says, hosted by Lorraine for 4 years running, which is about the time I think you got the original variance, conditional variance, because you said you had 2 renewals. So it might appear to me, and maybe I'm wrong, that this house rental has been used really as an Airbnb and not really
We have a tenant for,
as a tenant, but then why is this listed just recently, though? I'm a
no,
little
I don't have it.
confused.
It's just someone there now for a long term.
Yeah, how long is that? Do
I
you
would
have a
want
copy
the
of their
lease with
lease?
me if I
Do they have a
need.
lease?
Yes, sir.
Could you submit a copy of their lease to us, please?
Sure.
Just for
Okay.
the sake of the record, there's also booking dates on the Airbnb website as to when the apartment or the place
Yeah,
can
would
be
you be able
rented.
to clarify that, please?
So-
On the Airbnb website, as Council Lupo said, there's some days available that maybe I could come and stay if I wanted
No,
to.
I don't have it on it. It's, if you look at the calendar, there's no availability. If you go on, there's no availability.
But my question is, why is it listed on Airbnb?
I don't know, it just was on there, but I have a lease if you want to see it. I haven't
Yeah,
signed it.
I'd like to have a copy of the lease submitted to
Sure.
the board, because I just want to make sure that, again, our obligation to the city and to the tenant, the residents, is that, every time we grant a variance or renew a temporary conditional variance, is that basically the hardship that necessitated it in the first place is legitimate. I'm not questioning that there was a hardship when the business, had to fold, and that you needed a second source of income. But the question becomes, was it presented accurately to the board in terms of it being, let's say, a yearly rental, or certainly a rental with a lease, as opposed to just a commercial enterprise with an Airbnb with like a revolving door, of tenants?
And even if it was 100% genuine at the time, right, it's also the board's obligation to ensure that nothing changed,
Yeah, that's all. So, in my opinion, unless other members of the board have any questions, I would like the case to remain open, and I would like to see some documentation submitted to the board in terms of the leases that you've had running, and with the present tenant and before that.
The only other thing that I would add, that I would request just with respect to the lease, and if you have any questions on how to do it, you could contact my office and I will even help you prepare it. But when the lease is presented, I would also request that there's an affidavit that the lease is a fair and accurate representation of the current situation, sworn to under the penalties of perjury and notarized. So that way, it's demonstrated, you know what, you're swearing to it, and nobody's gonna lie and perjure themselves and possibly send themselves to jail over something so silly. So that would be the only other addition.
Yeah, thank you very much.
I think we should
Any
also
members of-
probably
Any other
collect-
members of the board have questions?
Would you be able to submit copies of monthly lease payments for the current tenant's term?
You mean like a monthly,
Cancel checks. Yeah.
I guess so, if that's what you
Yeah.
want. I have a lease, and I have prior leases
Yeah, proof of
too.
payment would be helpful to ensure that the lease is legitimate.
Thank you very much.
How many
Yeah.
leases are we asking for?
Yeah, can
How
we
many
have,
years?
it's been we were on this, can we have all the last 4 years leases?
I don't have a lease, but, I mean,
You just said you had.
I have a lease from this year, I have a lease from the last year, I think I have a lease from another year. I had the same tenant for 2
So then
years.
how's about we say any active leases over the course of the last 4 years?
Okay, yeah, I'll bring them, I'll
Okay.
send them to you, yes, sir.
And
Fair enough.
with an accompanying affidavit.
And now, what is the affidavit, sir, please?
The affidavit is that.
Testifying to its
It's
veracity.
basically swearing that, under the penalties of perjury, that the leases are fair and accurate representations of the actual situation, and that in submitting the lease, that basically you're swearing to the truth of it, right? And I'm not saying that you're disingenuous, but you have to understand the city has been burned by other people and nefarious actors, a bunch, right? So essentially, I mean, if, you know, Joey Lupo has 15 cousins, and I could just get my cousin Bobby Jones to sign a lease, all right, that's one thing, right? And it could be a total sham. But if I'm swearing under the penalties of perjury and then I'm caught, then you have to enter the DA.
So the prior leases, I mean, I don't have those tenants anymore. How am I going to show payment? I have a Zelle payments if you want me to, if you want to see a Zelle account. How am I going to show
Whatever record of payment you have will be helpful.
Yeah.
Zelle? I can send you my Zelle.
Whatever you have, I
Zelle
mean,
thing.
ordinarily, I mean, and again, I know everything could be different for everyone, but when I pay my rent, I write in the memorandum of the check, rent for December 2025.
But I didn't get that. I got Zelle payments.
But, okay, understood, and even in the Zelle, there's a memorandum or a description of the payment, whether it's Zelle or even Venmo. It says, and it's optional, right? It would say what's the reason for this,
Yeah,
right?
I'll have to check to see if.
Also
they-
has the name.
Oh, it has the name, yeah.
Yeah, 100%, yeah.
So the name would
That's
equal the
probably the
lease.
best thing.
Yeah,
If
and-
you have a lease that says Joseph Lupo was renting the house for the year of 2025, and you have monthly payments to Zelle of, I don't know, $1,800 a month.
Yeah, I have
on the
that.
first of the month, every month, I mean, that's demonstrative that they're paying their rent, right? And especially if that's what you're representing and you swear to it, that would be really helpful.
Any other questions?
Can I just ask him a question?
Yeah, you can, and if he wants to speak, he can just give us his name and address for the record.
So this is gonna be held open for the meeting, that the board isn't making a decision tonight.
Okay.
So next month, at the zoning board meeting next month, we're giving you all that time to get together any information. And again, I'm offering, if you have any questions, if you're not sure how to do something, call City Hall, ask for the Corporation Counsel's office, and ask for, I'm the only Joe that works in that department, and I will walk you through it.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate the help. Thank you.
Thank you.
He said it will remain.
Case will remain open for voting.
Case number 3483, application of Matt and Stephanie DeGreff of 125 National Boulevard, Long Beach, New York, for a variance in the following sections of the zoning code of ordinances of the city of Long Beach, New York. 13-82A pool, hot tub location, 13-82D pool location, 9-106.17 fence height limitations, 9-106.18 fence height corner, in order to maintain hot tub installation and front yard, and a 6-foot fence at 125 National Boulevard, Long Beach, New York, also known as Section 59, Block 75, Lot 158, on the Nassau County Land and Tax Map.
Good evening,
Mr.
Kenneth
Rapp.
Apple, for the applicant. Good evening, Chairman. Here tonight on behalf of Matt and Stephanie Graff, who reside at this is their primary residence at 125 National. They've owned this property for approximately 7 years and reside there with their 2 small children. They've chosen to stay here, raise their family, maximize their property. We came a couple of years ago or last year and got a variance for them for the front, I guess the front overhang. That's what we got it for. And they were undergoing construction on this home. Completely unbeknownst to them, prior to getting signed off on, they installed a hot tub on it's the side yard. It's considered the front yard, but their actual entrance is on National, not West Penn, so it's actually the side yard. I actually went by the property before. From National, you can't see it because there's a deck there, and from West Penn, there's the 6-foot fence there, which is also part of the subject tonight, so it's not even able to be seen from any part of the street. Like I said, they couldn't put a pool in. They thought it would be, recreational for their kids, have the hot tub. They were totally unaware that they required permits. It's put in legally. It's put in by electricians and licensed professionals. But when they came to get their final sign-off, Inspector Shue pointed out that you have to get a permit for this. So in applying for it, they realized they had the 3-foot setback on the side yard, which is considered the front yard again, but it's really the side yard. So just to give you a little background, as I'm sure you know, it's a corner property. It's on the southwest corner of National and West Penn. So the fence is not an issue because the traffic travels eastbound, and the traffic at the stop sign at the corner is going southbound. So the fence, which doesn't even go to the street, it's set back about, I'd say, 10 feet. It only goes 10 feet, from National Boulevard. It's a 6-foot fence, and again, it's for privacy. There's also trees behind it that are large, but it doesn't obstruct any traffic regarding the fence. So like I said, they came here a year ago, and tonight they're here just for permission to maintain their hot tub on the West Penn Street side. And being a corner property, you know, they have a ton of foot traffic, which is the need for the fence, you know, for privacy. Even if they didn't have the hot tub, they'd want that 6-foot fence just for the kids playing on the Penn Street side, which is really their grassy area.
Mr. Apple, just for the clarity of the record, where that fence is located, it's not obstructing any views on the corner of traffic?
No, so as you come down National going eastbound, the traffic goes southbound, even if it was to the corner. It's set 10 foot off the corner, so it's not obstructing anything. It doesn't even obstruct if you see a pedestrian walking, because it drops to 4 feet, about 10 feet from the corner. So it's not obstructing pedestrian traffic northbound, where a car has a stop sign anyway, but God forbid it went through a stop sign, you'd see the people walking. And the southbound traffic, everybody has stop signs, and it's not obstructing anything. Certainly, it's not going to create an undesirable change to the neighborhood. It's a 3-foot setback issue, which is why we're here.
What's the dimension of the hot tub? And also, when they installed the pool, you know, I'm sure like a pool company
There's
came
no
and
pool,
put
it's
it
just
in.
a hot tub.
What's that?
There's no pool, it's the
It's a hot tub.
Yeah.
When they came and installed it, did the company, I guess, not file any permits themselves? Because
Yeah.
they probably should have known, not the
Yeah,
applicant, but
she'll
the
she'll answer
company.
that when she speaks, but no, they didn't, but it was done professionally, obviously, and it was only caught when they went, and again, when they went to sign off. If they were looking to put one over on the city, they would have just waited for the sign off on their permits and then put the hot tub in. They clearly were trying to do it right, it was just mere ignorance by putting it in before the permit, you know, without the permits. It's 7 by 7.
Yeah, it's the smallest hot.
Do you want to just give us your name? Only for the record, because, you know, we need to know on the record who's speaking.
Yeah.
Name and address and name and address.
Steffi DeGreff, 125 National Boulevard. The hot tub size is the smallest one because we don't have much space on that side yard, so we didn't want to take up that much deck space. And then, what was the other question? Oh, about the installation.
Yeah.
We got it from Ace Hardware, and the guy
Old
is
Frog Spa.
Hot Tub Joe, he calls himself.
I know who they are. I was looking at them myself, you know, but I thought that they would know the whole ins and outs thing, you know.
They don't tell you anything about code or anything like that. My husband's an electrician, so we knew, like, when we put the electric in, we knew to get it to code, and then we passed the electrical inspection, which I thought was all we had to do until we had the inspection done.
Okay, fine. Mr. Apple, is there anything else you wanted to say?
Obviously, no undesirable change to the neighborhood. Now that even if we did do it after, you know, before the fact, there's no other way to put that hot tub on the property without coming to the zoning board and having some sort of setback issue. Like I said, it's a minimal size hot tub, so, you know, if it was any bigger, we'd even have a worse setback issue. We don't think it's substantial. You know, they're really putting a hot tub in back of their deck so they can enjoy their property. And this is definitely not going to have any adverse effect on the neighborhood environmentally, physically. I mean, this is a family raising their kids there. And
Okay.
that's pretty much
All
the
right.
legal criteria.
Any members of the board have questions?
Yeah, one question. In terms of the fence and the height fence, I noticed that it does stop in order to make sure that, you know, you can see traffic coming.
Yes.
Would you agree to a condition that you cannot continue that 6-foot fence toward the end of the corner?
The answer to your question is yes, because I'm only looking to maintain what's there.
Okay. That would be my only condition.
Yeah, no, but
So it's 6 feet and then it goes.
what Commissioner Marcos is asking is that we don't go and make the whole fence.
yeah.
We're asking to maintain what's currently there.
Right, because this, again, it runs with the land, so we don't want somebody then later on adding that fence more.
Yeah, whatever the dimensions of the fence are now, as far as the distance from the street is all we need, and we're gonna leave it at that.
Okay.
Okay, just to be a pain in the neck, not because I'm trying to be, but because apparently tonight I'm in that kind of mood.
Thanks.
Would you be willing to file a restrictive covenant on the land so the next homeowner who buys the property is aware of the fact that they are not entitled to extend the fence all the way down at the 6-foot height all the way to the corner.
You gonna prepare that restrictive covenant for me?
I have to say, you know, this application, in reading this application, it's funny, because when I first read it, I was like, who the heck puts a hot tub on their front lawn?
Right.
But it is very different.
But,
I mean,
but isn't it part of, wouldn't it be part of a CO search that this fence was a maintained variance? It would be incumbent upon a new homeowner to,
You would, but you know what, Mr. Apple, I think that, you know, you've done so many of these, and you've even, I'm sure, seen applicants where, you know, maybe it's a temporary conditional variance for a second unit or a second dwelling unit, and then, you know, the hardship that's claimed as, well, we didn't know because there wasn't a title search because we bought it in cash, or whatever the case may be.
I mean, I think if anybody ever extended that, they would be stopped immediately by the building department.
They would, and if I recall, I believe that you did have a case like that, and when you were up there presenting, you said, just so you know, I did not represent this applicant at the closing.
Correct.
Because you would have discovered it.
Correct.
You know what, I just want, you know, I mean, I just think that it might, and I know, especially for this, it might seem like I'm asking for a lot to give a little, but it's just like the way of making sure that moving forward, that notice is provided to any subsequent owners, and it is something that I presume this board will be requesting more regularly in the future for when they actually do grant full variances as opposed to temporary conditionals.
If that's what you're going to, if that's what the board is going to require, I'm not gonna have a choice. I'm gonna have to.
I just noticed that you changed, you said if that's what I mean the board, because you don't want me to require it, so if that's what the board requires, I'm not telling them that they should or they shouldn't. I just think that, but I will heed that is likely going to be coming in the next iterations of code changes and zoning.
As of yesterday?
As of Monday, sir, as of Monday.
As of Monday, I'm sorry.
Okay, all right, get it right.
Like I said, I think it's a little cumbersome, but if that's what I have to do, that's what I have to do. It's just a fence.
Any
It's
other
been
members
there.
of the
It's
board have any
not, you know-
questions? Anybody in the audience? Would anyone like to make a motion on the application?
I move to grant conditioned on the fence, the 6-foot part of the fence remaining where it presently is.
Understood.
Clear.
And the covenant.
Well, that's not the motion that he made.
You want me to,
Please.
and the covenant? What's the covenants again?
Just that the restrictive covenant with respect to the fence, that subsequent owners are made aware that the variance to maintain the 6-foot fence at the current location shall not be extended to the corner, just to secure the both, as a real estate attorney, the vertical and horizontal privity of the covenant.
Yeah, it would be a covenant having that language that Mr. Lupo just said.
I'll get the minutes.
That is filed with the county clerk, yeah.
So since Mr. Lupo is not gonna prepare this covenant, can the board at least grant me time to do this?
You want to hold it over?
No, we'll accept it. Just grant me a little reasonable time to do it and file it.
What is reasonable, Mr. Apple? Do you think that like 90 days?
That's fine.
Okay. Would the board be inclined to, well, Mr. Markowitz, would you be inclined to update your motion?
I'll accept the friendly amendment.
For the friendly amendment, yes, that within 90 days, a restrictive covenant will be recorded that the 6-foot fence is not entitled to be extended beyond where it currently is as of, as of December 18th, 2025, into perpetuity, closer to the corner.
Fair enough.
Thank you.
That's my motion.
I'll second the motion
Okay.
with those said conditions.
Yep. Case number 3483, application of Matt and Stephanie DeGraff of 125 National Boulevard, Long Beach, New York, for a variance from the following sections of the zoning code of ordinances of the city of Long Beach, New York. 13-82A pool, hot tub location, 13-82D pool location, 9-106.17 fence height limitations, 9-106.18 fence height corner, in order to maintain hot tub installation and front yard and 6-foot fence at 125 National Boulevard, Long Beach, New York, also known as Section 59, Block 75, Lot 158, on the Nassau County Land and Tax Map. Commissioner Markowitz has introduced a motion to grant the application with the 2 conditions stated on the record. Chairman Morelli has seconded the motion. Commissioner Markowitz?
Grant with conditions.
Commissioner Lees?
Grant with conditions.
Commissioner Brooks?
Grant with the 2 conditions.
Commissioner Alvarado?
Grant with conditions.
Commissioner De Pasquale?
Grant with conditions.
Chairman Morelli?
Grant with conditions.
This application has been granted with the conditions stated on the record. Case number 1452, application of Lancer Insurance Company of 370 West Park Avenue, Long Beach, New York, for a variance from the following section of the zoning code of ordinances of the city of Long Beach, New York. 9-112-15 off-street parking for a modification to variance number 1452 in order to remove conditions to provide off-street parking at 373 West Park Avenue for the property located at 370 West Park Avenue, Long Beach, New York, also known as Section 59, Block 47, Lots 6 through 16 on the Nassau County Land and Tax Map.
John
Good evening,
Petrilli.
sir. Name and address, please.
John Petrilli, 370 West, Petrilli, excuse me, 370 West Park Avenue, Long Beach, New York. Good evening. I'm here on behalf of Lancer Insurance Company, the applicant, to remove a condition that was placed in a prior variance from May of 2000. In 2000, Lancer extended its building over an existing parking lot just east of its original structure. That eliminated approximately 20 parking spaces. The board at the time required us to acquire a small tax lot across the street that's known as 373 West Park Avenue.
That was originally part of the Sunrise Center, correct?
I don't believe it was. I think it was actually acquired, I believe, after the Sunrise Center went into foreclosure. But I don't know for sure, but it was always a separate tax lot.
So that building, which was known as the Sunrise Center, that went into foreclosure. Lancer had not purchased it yet, and the lot was existing separately?
Correct, yes, it was. It was a tax lot.
So it was deeded separately?
Yes.
And who owned the lot at that time, do you remember? Was it the bank that originally
No, the State
held
Bank.
the foreclosure?
State Bank never had an ownership interest either, Dr. Zimmerman, none of them had an ownership
So at
interest.
no
I
time,
know that
because I'm
for
just
sure.
trying to establish a timeline on this, at no time was that lot part of the Lancer property or part of the Sunrise property?
Correct. We then acquired it, and we used it for parking. I have to say, early on, I've been at Lancer, or I was at Lancer for 35 years as a general counsel. I'm now with Granada, which is the offshoot of Lancer. When we sold Lancer, we retained a smaller company and grew it. So I'm kind of wearing 2 hats here. But I think if there was construction going on in the middle median, or the utility guys are in the other lot, we used that parking lot. But it really wasn't, it turned out not to be necessary. And then when hybrid hit, and everybody's working 2 days a week, the only guy that ever goes in there is the mailroom person, because it's convenient from across the street to his mailroom door. But no one's ever used it. With the renovation project that this board approved in August, with the same footprint, that property is under contract, by the way, to sell to the same developer. That property is going to be used for one of several functions. If the tenants on the first floor, the retail tenant, if one of them happens to be a bank and needs a drive-through, the plan would be to put a drive-through on the easterly side of the building, and then that parking that's displaced from that would go on that other side. For now, we know we'll need bigger dumpsters, and the only way the sanitation truck can get to them is using that lot as well. So there are different reasons. It's kind of fluid right now, and I'm not speaking on behalf of the developer, but that's what he advises would happen to that small lot on the side. But I can personally assure you that no one uses that lot from Lancer. We have about 125, 130 people that work in the Lancer building from both companies, but they're only there 1 or 2 days a week. So it's not a full crew at any given time, and that lot's empty for that reason.
So let me just understand this more clearly, if I may.
Sure.
I think at its peak, if I'm not mistaken, Lancer had about 200 employees at its peak.
But not all in that building.
Right.
throughout the country.
Right, they had some place in Hicksville or somewhere around
At
the
Plainview, we had a
island.
claims department with 45 or 50 people.
Okay.
We had a West Coast
So
office.
then, would it be fair to say that the building right now is housing about maybe two-thirds, number one, the number of population that they had at one time, and of that two-thirds, you're saying that not even half of that is there at any given time?
Correct. First of all, the claims department from Lancer Insurance, my claims guys all live in Florida. I'm jealous. They're all down in Florida. They relocated and they're working remotely. Our CFO lives in Arizona. The claims department of Lancer Insurance Company only comes in one day a week. They're only in on Tuesdays, and they occupy the lower mezzanine level. One more noteworthy point, though. The Granada Indemnity Group, we're about 60 people in the New York area. We're 150 throughout the country, but New York area. Of that 60, maybe 40, 45 come to the office 2 days a week. But we're entering into a lease with the developer to take over 2 of the floors of the Sunrise Center. So we're just moving those bodies from one building to the other, but there'll be no new cars in the community because of that development, except for the retail tenants of the first floor. And I can't represent to you what they'll be. We do know we've committed, or the builders committed, no food establishments on that first floor, so there won't be a lot of pedestrian traffic. Could be a bank, which would require the drive-in, could be professional offices. We don't know that yet, so I don't want to give you any representations about that, but it should be low volume, and it's less people, not more, that are actually occupying collectively both buildings.
Mr. Petrillo?
Yes.
I just want to make sure that, because I forgot what you said because I was reading as far as your name, and then I read it off so I was just confirming. Do you know what the current maximum occupancy for the building is right now?
The Lancer building?
Yes.
I don't know, 140, 150, I'm not sure, to be honest with you.
Would the owner of the building be willing to reduce the maximum occupancy, by maybe like 20 people?
You mean the Lancer building, the current Lancer building?
Well, the current Lancer building.
At
is the one-
370 West Park?
370. 370 is the building that's across the street, right? That's now using this parking lot as excess.
Let me make sure I'm clear. The variance that was imposed on us in 2000 requires the Lancer building at 370 to utilize 373 for 10 parking spaces.
Correct.
That's the total universe.
10 parking spaces.
I'm sorry?
For 10 parking.
10 parking spaces. It really doesn't fit 10, by the way, unless people are courteous and park the right way. You know?
So I fully understand that the impact of this, arguably is minimal. What I am thinking about is, once the building is sold and whoever the new occupants are, I understand the problem is going to be theirs as far as if they need a certain amount of parking and they're going to have to seek their own variances and whatnot. But I think that what my question is even though the building itself, right now, a lot of the employees are working remotely, there's nothing that says necessarily that it has to stay like that. So I guess what I'm just looking for is if there's a low-impact solution that, that wouldn't affect the current owner negatively, that would also mitigate the need for the other 10 spots.
But could I just ask you, and I say this with all due respect to your question, but how does that solve the parking issue? If only 65 or 75 people per day are coming to the Lancer building, then it doesn't matter if the occupancy is 400 or 100.
No, listen,
you're
right, I understand that.
And more importantly, though, let me just make one comment. More importantly, we're going to take over a 15-year lease of this new building. 65 or 62 of the people that are actually in the Lancer building are just going to move across the street. It's not that there's going to be new cars, other than retail tenants, again, who I don't know who they're going to be. There may be a gym. The developer's still trying to hunt around for people, and that's a tough thing in Long Beach without seeing it visually, and that building needs a lot of work first, as you well know. So I just don't, with all due respect to your question, I don't see any reason why the occupancy of the building matters at this point. You're quite correct that if Core Holdings, the company in Ohio that owns Lancer now, decides everyone's coming back in the office, I can tell you they'll lose half their people. We can't get people to come to the office anymore. I've been looking for a lawyer for my department for 6 months. Nobody wants to come to Long Beach. I just throw my hands up.
You're going to empty. You're gonna empty the Lancer building.
We're going to take 60, well, let's assume 60 full-time people, but they're only in there 40 people at a time. I just want to make sure that we're clear. Those 60 people are going to move across the street. The Lancer Insurance people, which are about 75 or 80 in that building, are going to stay there.
So
It's
you
their
have
building. We don't own it anymore. Lancer was sold to Core Holdings, Core Specialty Holdings, and we don't own that building. We are actually a tenant, month-to-month tenant, until we get our place built across the
I
street.
think the nature of the question is, that's all true, and I'm sure, you know, people don't want to come to work. But we base parking on occupancy, irrespective of people, whether you use the occupancy or not.
Understood.
Okay. So
Understood.
we still have the same issue if you have the same occupancy.
But I guess I was just challenging the premise that the occupancy there is.
The premise is the law, right? The law, we need a certain amount of parking spots based on occupancy.
Right,
If you want to reduce the occupancy, we can reduce the parking spots.
but those spots are going to be, one, the spots aren't used.
Today they are, but if something happens in that building in the future, it gets sold, people decide they all want to come to work, we need the parking spots.
Well, I guess the problem I'm having with all this idea is that the builder, the developer, and LFG Capital that owns the property right now is not Lancer Insurance Company. It's kind of, they're kind of truncated that way. So I'm having a very hard time trying to conceptualize what that discussion would be with the Lancer people. You know, they don't need the spots. And so, and their occupancy is lower than normal. And I just don't know what that would do for them. I just don't know.
It would be a covenant on the owner of the building.
I mean, we have the middle lot that we've been utilizing for many, many years, and there's, except for some very unusual summertime, there's always spots there. It's not, I don't want to minimize parking in Long Beach. That's one of the biggest problems you have. But in that area, it's just not a problem anymore. It hasn't been for 4 or 5 years now. And that's why plus I'm resistant to say that because I don't speak for Lancer on their real estate facilities. So it's difficult for me to stand here today. I represent them on this issue, but very difficult for me to say they would consent to anything like that. So I just, want to be candid with you.
But that is the challenge, right?
Again, I've been coming to work here every day for 35 years.
I know, sir, but things change. No one thought that New York City would be back after COVID. Now, everyone's back in their office.
Right. No, I understand, but we just haven't seen that, and our people are, like I say, one of the problems we're having really is trying to find new people to come work in an existing company and that aren't coming in every day. It's the osmosis factor that you want, to be candid with you. And our people are all over the country. They're in Florida, they're in Arizona, they're in New Jersey, they're upstate. They just don't come. I don't see it in our industry. Other industries, perhaps. I don't see it in my industry.
You know, just to answer your question, I've been a tenant on that block for almost 40 years, and I don't think the parking's ever been a problem. First of all, what's unique about that parking lot, which the city combined 2 parking lots into one by getting rid of the center medians, right? Which added probably about 15 spots, maybe more. Even when Lancer was at its peak, I could honestly tell you at any time of the day, during business hours, there are always spots in that lot. I've never had anyone who circulated and said they could not find a spot. And also, what's unique about that lot is that block and that lot are the first block where there's no 2-hour limit. Anything going east of that lot and on the sidewalks, those streets have a 2-hour limit on the curbside parking, and I think even in the center island parking, because there is a problem with the parking. Because that block is unique that it abuts, a residential area, starting with the corner of Lafayette, has always been kind of like a doctor's block on both sides of the street. And even with their lot and without their lot, that center lot has always had empty spaces at any time of the day. There's never anyone that's ever had to go through that lot like you would in the middle of town and circulate and circulate and circulate and leave. there's always at least 1 or 2 empty spots. So even when I can say this in all honesty, even, and I have no, vested interest here, what I was saying is that even that when Lancer had about 150 employees, let's say, or more there, which at that time, I can honestly say I treated a lot of them, and they're gone, honestly. And so the parking dimension has even improved, but even when they were all there in their peak, it never really posed a problem for parking. It's a unique block.
I guess my only concern is if that use changes in the future, I mean, the 10 spots here are not really gonna make a big difference. I
No.
grant
So,
that.
the only thing that I will say to that is if the use changes in the future, then that has to go before the planning board, right? So.
The use of the building as it is, I mean, where you get more people.
Yeah, so for
coming in.
example, like the way that the enabling legislation for the planning board was enacted, and initially it was a mistake, to be honest. Initially, it was just said that the planning board has site plan overview of all commercial properties. But now where that became a problem is let's say that Gino's Pizza sold, and then it became Francesco's Pizza. It's the same, so it's a new commercial property, so then that would have triggered site plan review. So we didn't want that, right? So if it's apples to apples, no site plan review. But if the use is changing, now Gino's is gonna become, I don't know, hardware store hypothetically, then it's gonna be subject to site plan review. So just based on the way that you posed the question, if the use changes in a, it's not an insurance company anymore, then, we will have a chance to look at it and then make the new applicant, have to do a parking study and whatnot. I mean, and in kind of reverse weighing the variance factors, I mean, based on, Chairman Morelli's statements, and, I don't live here, so I rely on you guys for the day-to-day, happenings of the city. But, I mean, is it going to be detrimental to the neighborhood? Well, based on Chairman Morelli's, statements, it's like if there's always parking in the center median, no, probably not. I mean, is it going to produce an undesirable change? Again, if it's not really used, it's kind of like a moot point. Is there another, do they have any other benefit? Well, not really, because if we require them to maintain that lot, then, there's no way to get rid of it. It's a zero-sum game. To be quite honest, I mean, in viewing it, just objectively based on the variance factors, I really don't think that this is a big deal. However, everyone on this board has their own level of experience and expertise, and if anyone feels differently, it's your choice to vote, not mine.
Just if I could add one thing, one of the other factors here is the lot for the Sunrise Center is going to be used by my company. So people will come out of the middle median and go into that lot. And that extra strip will allow us to either have a decent tenant in there or extra parking spaces. We don't know that yet. Plus, right now, that lot that I park in next to Sunrise Center has 2 handicap spots in it because that's what was required by law for that gym's use or the physical therapy use. It may actually be more than that, and then we would use that other area. So the area is going to be put to use for parking one way or the other by one of us. So if you think we're 125 people, we're just 125 people shuffling the deck. And that's why I don't think it's a burden on the community. And frankly, that's why I didn't bring in any traffic studies or any engineers. I just believe that we're just moving people around. So everything should stay status quo. I mean, again, I can't speak for Lancer. If they grow and they buy the Travelers Insurance Company, I guess maybe they'll want to put more people in there. But that's highly unlikely right now.
Well, they also have like a niche business, right? Because at the present time, do they still insure just buses and that sort of thing?
Lancer Insurance Company is commercial transportation, buses, limousines, and trucks. And our company insures mostly property, doctor's offices, strip malls, apartments.
Right.
And we do Amazon last mile from the hub to the home. So light a candle on that business because that's tough business. But we don't have customer traffic anymore either, where in the old days the bus guys would come in, we'd have dinners and all conferences. It just, the whole world changed that way. It changed at 9/11, it changed 2008, and it changed again during COVID. And I've watched it all. I've been a lawyer for 45 years here, and I've watched it all go, to a point where I can work from home 3 days a week if I needed to.
Yeah, and quite honestly, that, the building in its present state is an eyesore. So, I mean, I know that people on the block would certainly like to see that cleaned up and developed because God only knows what's in that building,
Yeah,
at this
we
point.
have high hopes that.
It was devastated by Sandy. I mean, it's been,
Well, it's been
you know.
vacant for 25 years
Yeah.
with no ventilation. And it's going to be a challenge. Hopefully, we'll have it done within the year, and we'll move in as of next January. I have the lease, we're just waiting for the architect's plans on what we're going to build out and everything. But the plan, just so you know, is 2 floors of us, no other commercial, no executive offices for anybody but my company, and then 2, 3, or 4 retail stores down below. That's the entire plan for the building. It's just that we need that extra spot on one side, and we need to get Lancer off of, as a condition on theirs in order to do that. Because what we did, just to be a little self-righteous, we entered into a lease. Lancer owned that property. When we sold Lancer, we wanted to make sure they were still in compliance with your zoning decision from 2000. So when we bought the property, we entered into a lease with Lancer, our other company, and the lease is perpetual until I can get this variance removed. So they're still in compliance with it, but we want to do it by the book.
Any other members of the board? If not, anybody in the audience wants to speak in favor or against? Sir?
Just to start with, I have
Just your
some
name and
prop-
address, sir.
My name is Alan Pilevsky. Pilevsky.
Just 1 second, sir, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Just recuse.
When we vote.
Yeah.
Okay. No, just to be fair, I just want to let the record, I should say, just to let the record show that Mr. Pilevsky is my landlord, and I have no vested interest in this, so I will probably recuse myself on the vote, but I feel I could be impartial by,
Sure.
continuing on the case. I didn't know that in the beginning. Go ahead, Mr. Pilevsky, please.
Okay, just to start with, I have from Property Shark, it shows the owner of both buildings are still Lancer Insurance. It's had not been sold. Okay. Lancer Insurance still owns both buildings.
You were just saying that the paperwork shows that Lancer still owns both buildings, that the property, as far as...
From Property Shark, yes.
That it hasn't been sold as of yet.
Okay.
Sorry, I recorded those deeds 4 years ago, 3 years ago, so it kind of mystery to me. What buildings are you referring to, so at least we understand?
It shows that 373 was sold in 2001 for $50,000.
Okay.
That's not an arm's length transaction. It's worth a little bit more than $50,000.
But there is also the argument of the peppercorn theory, that 2 parties to a contract could contract to sell property for the value of a peppercorn if that peppercorn is deemed valuable consideration by the purchaser.
I never heard that before.
You know what? I gotta tell you, I'm a little surprised. That's like, I think I was taught about the peppercorn theory probably like my 2nd month of contracts law.
Okay. Was that
And I'm not
Peter's
trying to-
peppercorn?
I'm sorry?
Was that Peter's peppercorn?
It was.
Did he pick it?
He did. No, basically, and I understand what you're saying, you're questioning whether or not the $50,000 constitutes valuable consideration
Correct.
for the worth of the premise, but, of the premises, the property. However, if someone was to challenge the validity of that, I mean, if it's, Lancer is a privately owned company? I'm asking you, counsel.
Yes.
So Lancer being privately owned, it's not like it has to answer to public shareholders as to, why it would sell an asset for pennies on the dollar. I mean, I think that would be a little bit difficult of something to prove. I could be wrong, but...
Sorry, I didn't interrupt you, but 373 West Park, the 20-foot strip we're talking about, was acquired in 2000, 2001, in a tax sale. The city begged us to buy that property for $50,000, and we bought it for $50,000. We used it pursuant to the board's directive, parking. I don't understand the relevance to that.
I'm not certain either. I'm not
the
certain. In
microphone.
2001, I was in high school. I don't know. I'm sorry.
I wish I was.
I have the microphone, please.
Go ahead, Mr. Pilevsky, please.
This formal statement is submitted in strong opposition to the application by Lancer Insurance Company for the removal of off-street parking requirements for its 370 West Park Avenue by using parking at the vacant building located at 373 West Park Avenue. This application should be denied. The primary objection is that this application appears to be an attempt to circumvent prior requirements for its 370 building in order to facilitate the construction of apartments and maybe commercial at 373 West Park Avenue. Lancer was previously denied by the city of Long Beach to construct residential units at 373 because of insufficient parking exacerbated by some of 373 spaces being required to be used for 370. The requirement is now being seeks to be terminated. By removing this existing off-street parking condition, Lancer seeks to meet the requirements for additional apartment units that would otherwise be impossible. This request for a variance is a form of subterfuge to achieve a density increase that already has been prohibited. Approving this variance for 370, eliminating required off-street parking on 373's property will demonstrably exacerbate the existing parking shortages, increase street congestion, and have a negative impact on the community. Lancer cannot reasonably claim that the introduction of more vehicles would be a minor issue. What is critical and noteworthy is that granting Lancer's application would be particularly unjust and hypocritical, given that the nearby variance request for a 10-unit apartment house just 2 doors east of Lancer's office was denied in December 2015, seemingly based on the vocal opposition by Lancer's attorney, John Petrello, who stated, and I quote, "The mall is always full." Lancer's representative itself told the board that their employees cannot find parking. How can they now come before the same board and claim that parking requirements should be waived? The 10-unit variance was denied for explicit reasons of failing to propose adequate off-street parking and proposing a multi-family building in an inappropriate district, both conditions that apply to Lance's vacant 373 building today. The board must apply the same standard in all comparable cases. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pelez.
Mr. Petrelli, so I totally respect and appreciate your position that, you know, since COVID, the world has become much more inclined for people to work remotely, full-time, part-time, et cetera. At this phase, would your client, your company, be opposed to submitting a traffic study?
I don't understand the need for it, but of course, I mean, if you're asking,
Well,
if the board's asking for a traffic study, why would I say no?
So as counsel to the board, I don't have the authority to demand anything of you.
I understand.
You would, but and I will explain. And the reason why I'm saying it is because I'm not an expert in traffic, I'm not an expert in, you know, remote work and what could potentially come. I mean, to Mr. Alvarado's point, you know, they said the city would never come back. The city of, you know, New York City would never come back after COVID, and it has. I mean, at least if there was some expert evidence submitted in admissible form, then if anything was to be challenged, whether it's a grant or a denial, at least it would just solidify your claims that the building, regardless of its occupancy, is not used nearly to its occupancy, and that the area can support, you know, the traffic and parking for the tenants of the two buildings.
Well, that part's fine, but the first part that you mentioned, no traffic engineer is going to be able to predict.
You know what, I
the
misspoke.
future.
I realized that I kind of used, I realized that I asked for a parking study, and then I kind of superimposed a traffic study in there, and that was me misspeaking.
No, I understood what you meant, but my point there only is not to belabor it, is that no engineer is going to be able to predict what's going to happen 5 years from now. And I don't think it's helpful for today. It's not probative today. I just got to mention one thing though. We opposed this gentleman's development because he wanted to put up a structure that had 15 parking spaces off the street. Nothing on, I'm sorry, on the street, nothing off-site. We had asked for 26 spots on a condominium we wanted to build at 367. It's not 373, by the way, it's 367. 373 is a 20-foot parking lot. We asked for 26 spots. We were denied summarily on that. And so I came in and just simply said, forget the merits. If I can't get a variance for 26 cars for condominiums in Long Beach, no one should get a variance in that street if they're not willing to put at least some parking on their property. And that was the sole objection that I had at the time. So I guess this is just retribution. That's okay.
Whatever.
I'll live with it.
Even if that is the case, right? I mean, whether it's sour grapes, whatever the case may be.
Well, I just wanted to...
No, I understand, but please understand, my position is that I can't hang my hat on, a statement in the record saying that the only reason why this gentleman is opposing this is because of sour grapes from something else. So if in fact the board granted, this request, and then this gentleman retained counsel and challenged it, wouldn't you rather be in a position that be in a position for the board to be able to validate its decision?
I'm certainly willing to go get a parking study. I'm not arguing with you over it. It's just that some of the bases by which we're getting to this point are invalid. They just have no merit to them, and that's really what I want to raise.
Because the question became, when that other case came up with Mr. Polewski a few years back, I recused myself at that time, knowing he was my landlord, and I know the board turned it down. But the thing was that now, because I recused myself, I didn't listen to the case, nor did I pay any attention to it, and I didn't realize at that time that Lancer was opposed to his application because of the parking shortage. So it raises a little concern to me, and not because I'm taking any sides here, because I feel I can remain partial, but I just found it a little interesting that Lancer opposed that, and at the same time now is saying that removing the 10 spots wouldn't make a difference.
Just to make the record clear, we did not oppose it on the merits. We weren't talking about a parking shortage at the time. We were just saying that...
With the utmost respect, that's irrelevant. Both of
No,
them.
but I want to say what Dr. Morelli was just mentioning. I want to make sure you understand. We were opposing on the ground that we didn't get our variance. We didn't talk about the merits of the parking. It's just that we had on-site parking, and they didn't. And we're like, well, wait a minute, that's just unfair to the neighborhood.
So where I believe the record falls short right now is the fact that when the presentation initially began, and when questions were initially asked before, this gentleman, I'm sorry, I forgot your name.
Mr. Polewski.
Mr. Polewski, Alan, opposed it. Mr. Chairman Morelli did not yet know at that point that he was going to be required to recuse himself from this case. So based on the record, the representation that I made was that, not being from Long Beach, a lot of the anecdotal and day-to-day operations, I guess, or methods of the city, I rely on the board to convey to me. And specifically, I was referring to Dr. Morelli, saying how that was considered Doctor's Row, and parking really isn't much of a problem there. But now, I'm going to take that same man, I'm going to rely on his testimony, but then he's going to recuse himself from voting. It could very easily be challenged that his opinion, was biased or unbiased, or it shouldn't even count because he couldn't even vote on the case. And technically, if you're going to recuse yourself from the case, you're supposed to be removed from the dais.
Should I do that now?
So, I mean, at this point, I think it's kind of, it's kind of futile.
Yeah, because there was no way of my knowing that Mr. Polewski was going to
100%.
come up.
You did not.
I'm not
intentionally
objecting to
mislead.
candid opinions from the
Sure,
board.
but 100%. But, I just think that the easiest way to clean up any questions would be with a parking study.
May I ask something?
By
So
all means.
I understand Mr. Polewski's point. Okay, so if you no longer tether both properties, that means now you'll be able to develop this property that has the 10 parking spots, correct? There's no longer
No, we
tethered.
wouldn't be able to develop it. It's not developable. It's 20 feet by 50
You said
feet.
it's parking for the other building.
They're using that parking for that building, once they rehab the Sunrise Center.
Okay.
We can't, now, I guess, just in fairness to your question, I guess if we had demand for it, if the new builder has demand for it, he could extend the Sunrise Center out further if he needed the space for, but that's not in the game plan. It's just not, that's not his intention.
So
His intention is to use it as part of the building's renovation
So then,
for utilities.
Then the question goes to Mr. Polewski. I don't understand. I thought when you were speaking that if they were to untether those buildings, it would cause a parking situation because somebody would be able to develop those now where the 10 spots are into something else. Am I wrong
If you
in that?
untether the 10 spots from Lancer
Correct.
and allow that other parcel to use them, you can build residential.
Okay. And that's your point, right?
You'd be able to build more on the vacant building because you have more parking.
There is,
Okay, no, I got it. So this is my point. Because you're saying it's, the study is speculative. But how I'm raising, am I right? How I'm raising it, it's not. That's what I would like to see.
but the board, I want to make sure we're all clear on something. The board already approved in August the renovation of 367 West Park Avenue at the footprint it's in right now. That's all the developer's working with. They're not gonna build residential. I don't know where residential comes into play here. We're not building anything on that 20-foot spot. We can't build anything on it. It went into tax foreclosure because whoever bought it thought they were on spec. They couldn't do it 40 years ago. It's being used as utility for the 367 building as it's being renovated. No
And then when it's
residential.
done renovated, what happens?
2 floors of executive offices. The bottom
No,
floor.
in terms of those spots, what happens?
As I said before, it's either going to be used as, to replace parking spaces on the other side of the building that will be displaced for a drive-through bank, if there's a bank, big if, or it's going to be used for the dumpsters, so the sanitation trucks can get in there. They won't be able to get into the other parking lot with cars there. So for utility purposes, that 20-foot strip is going to be utilized by the building for one of 2 different things. It's not going to be used we're not going to build on it. We can't develop on a 20-foot strip. I wish we could.
And that 20-foot strip, that is not owned by you, owned by you, owned by you?
It will be owned by the developer when we close title. Right now, our company, not Lancer, our affiliated companies own that lot, and they own 367, which is the main building. So they're both being sold together to the developer. That wasn't addressed a lot in August, it wasn't developed a lot in August, but both of those lots are being sold. So that includes 42 spots to the east of the
All right,
367
I'm going to interrupt
building.
you for a second.
Yeah, go ahead.
Would you be able to put in, could we ask for a covenant to be filed concerning that little piece, those 10 spots, that no building can be put on it?
Well, here's my question. What's the total size of that plot? Because if it's 20 by...
20 by 50, whatever the
20 by
depth is.
50.
Whatever the depth is.
I don't know off the top of my head, but I don't know a single zone in the city that permits building on a 20-foot wide lot. You know,
Okay.
it's probably not a buildable lot in and of itself. Now, with that, variances are a thing. That's why we're here, right? So somebody could come for a variance to request a build on a 20-foot wide lot, but I can't foresee that really being
But
granted.
that person that would come to do that is the developer that you just granted a variance to redo the building.
So
He's gonna own both those lots.
Here's my
Abby
other
Watkins'
question.
company is gonna own both
It
those
will
lots.
also be the future owner of 370, who now doesn't have enough parking spot for a
Right.
full occupancy of his building, which is where I'm concerned.
Right, all right, I understand.
There are a few hypotheticals, and I agree that they're speculative, but because of the fact that variances or the removal of a variance runs with the land in perpetuity, we don't know what's going to happen in 20 years from now, and that's what I think the board is concerned about, that if in 20 years from now, you know, Lancer sells and there's different owners for, you know, both of these properties, and maybe they're not, you know, the kindest neighbors, what position is that going to put the residents in the city in then? So at least if we have a parking study that we could point to that says, all right, well, listen, here are the options. The building, you know, if the building didn't have this lot, meaning the 373 no longer was going to use this for parking, right? and they were gonna develop it somehow. Now, the dumpsters are gonna be located in the parking lot, and that's gonna take up X amount of spaces. Or if there's a bank and they don't have this lot, now, now the drive-through of the bank is gonna take up X amount of spaces. So then in those hypotheticals, it would then behoove the board to require a restrictive covenant to say, hey, that these have to remain as parking, right? But if it's, ceteris paribus, all other things equal, if placing the dumpsters or drive-through or whatever the case in the parking lot is going to remove 10 parking spots there, but give them 10 parking spots in that other lot versus not putting the dumpsters or the drive-through in that lot, and then they put the dumpsters in the main lot and putting the dumpsters on that 20-foot wide plot, then it's really a zero-sum game. But the thing is, we don't know what's going to happen yet. So that's why I think to answer some of those questions on the what-ifs, a parking study might be appropriate. So again, that way, if something is challenged, you know what, we're not speculating, and we actually have legitimate, expert evidence that we could rely on in an Article 78 proceeding.
Yeah, I would agree.
Now, you said the 367 building plus the 20-foot space is gonna be sold together?
Correct. They're under contract right now with the gentleman that was here in August seeking the renovation permission. We have a contract to sell both those lots to him. He's going to keep the footprint of the building the way it is and use that lot for what I mentioned, one of the two different uses. Correct. But that closing can't take place till I get rid of this variance. So that means construction can't start. It's going to be delayed forever. Just, one of my problems here is
Mr. Petrilli, how long do you, in your experience, to have a parking study, for a parcel of that size? Realistically, are you talking, do you have any idea?
It's not a parcel of that size. It's parking all throughout the neighborhood. When you do a proper study, you do a study that's probably 2 or 3 blocks, right?
Fair enough.
So I have no idea, to be very candid with you. It's the holidays, and that's a problem.
So what I'm wondering is that, Mr. Petrowski, is there any compromise that the building owners could make that would alleviate your concerns? Is there anything that could be a win-win for both? And the only reason why I'm saying this is because, listen, just in the sake of time, if there's, a way to make everybody happy, it's definitely worth exploring, right? I mean, we do this often. I mean, even with the restaurant establishment Cans. I mean, they were seeking certain variances, people came out and spoke in droves against it, and then the very organization that opposed it, after they all came to a compromise, ended up having their year-end Christmas party at that same place, which was astonishing to me. But, so I'm wondering, is there any happy medium? I don't know.
Mr. Lupo, I'm concerned about the parking irrespective of the argument.
Fair enough, and that's, and
Okay,
as a
so
board
it
member,
has
that
nothing
is.
to do with the argument at hand.
Okay.
I stated my position even before Mr. Lipinski came up. We gotta think about the future use of this building and its parking needs, not the fact that COVID created a hybrid situation in which we now live, because that's gonna change. We're gonna need all the parking.
You're right,
So
Mr.
I think a parking study would benefit you, sir.
That's fine, that's fine. It may delay this whole project at Sunrise Center indefinitely, and that's going to be a problem for the builder, but when we do a parking study, the difficulty I'm having with you is that what you're talking about is something like 25 years in the future. That's not, it's just not viable. Urban planning is 25 years.
Sir, I think a parking study just on the current occupancy and allowable use will tell you that we don't have enough. Just use what we have today. The building that you have, its maximum occupants will already tell you we don't have enough parking. That's why you need the variance, because you don't have enough parking for that building.
That's why we needed the variance back in 2000.
That's why you need the variance today. The occupancy has not changed in the building, sir.
Well, okay, understood. I understand your point.
So
would this be left open, or what?
Yes, it would.
So,
I'm sorry.
so if there are any, first I'm going to ask if there are any additional questions that either of you two would like to make.
I'd like to make a statement.
The microphone is yours.
The first thing is, if a traffic study is going to be done, I'd like to get a copy of it so I can have my traffic engineers study it before the next meeting.
So once it's a parking study, just for the sake of clarity for the record.
Okay.
The parking study will become part of the record. Well, no, you can't foil it because you can't foil a document that could affect the outcome of a bid, a contract, or a determination. With the utmost respect, I'm more than happy to definitely support the recommendation of this board to get a traffic study, but your engineers don't have any stake in the game. They don't have any say in this. The determination based on the parking study is solely within the discretion of this board.
Or Mr. Polewski, you could just have a parking study and submit it.
If you want to do one yourself, you can do that as well, and submit that and make that part of the record. 100%.
The last thing is, we're talking about the vacant land at 367 or 373. I'm not sure which address it is, but they're talking about using a drive-up window for dumpsters. There's not going to be any parking there. And besides that, the vacant land, they could still use as floor area ratio to build up a higher, taller building.
Those hypotheticals were purely speculative.
Yes.
I think Mr. Petrilli said that they don't know or have any plans, that a bank will take over one of those first floor leases and then put in a drive-through, but they aren't necessarily opposed to it if that does happen. So again, I understand your point, but I think that's where the parking study is really going to be beneficial, where, when the experts and engineers say, all right, based on buildings of this size, it would require X amount of parking spaces, then in the event, that, let's say they just come in at the wire for parking and like they have the perfect amount, and then a bank wants to come in and eliminate X amount of spots, then that's something that bank's going to have to come and get variances for, right? So it's right now, I think that, especially on this board, there are a lot of really intelligent people with great experience, as well as you two gentlemen, and you're coming up with scenarios where this could be diabolical. Mr. Petrelli's coming up with scenarios where this is totally, inconsequential, and Mr. Alvarado is, also coming up with scenarios where this could be a problem, but we don't know, and it's not our job to guess. It's our job to make a determination based on admissible facts and evidence, and that's why the parking study will really, I think, be super beneficial in this matter.
So can we request as a board that the applicant provides us with a parking study?
Absolutely.
I said, as a board, I was asking my, Mr. Lupa, my counsel, if this board can ask the applicant, who you represent, to provide this board with a parking study.
I agree to that.
So this case will remain open.
It will remain open.
The hearing is open, which means that both sides could still present evidence to this board. So if you have a parking study done as well, and you want to submit it to this board and make it a part of the record, you have the right to do that as well.
Okay.
All right, so as of now, this, we will, just as a matter of practice, say that this is open for voting until the next meeting. I don't think that at the next meeting, the parking studies are going to be available in 1 month. So what I would suggest, Mr. Petrelli, is that you just request email Ms. Lynch as a secretary to the zoning board and just say, hey, we're still working with our engineer. Keep us updated. Like, we've selected an engineer, they're still working on it. We anticipate we'll be ready, in March. However, please adjourn us for 1 month at a time until then, just so we can keep this open and keep it going. Because once we close the hearing, under New York State law, we only have 62 days to render a decision. That's why the hearing has to remain open. Okay?
We just have one extension.
Okay, I'm sorry. Did you have something else?
Just one or two more things. After the meeting in December 2015, I approached Mr. Petrillo downstairs and I asked him why he went against me. And
That's irrelevant.
I know it's hearsay, but I'd like to say it anyway. He said, if I can't build, nobody should be allowed to build.
That has no bearing on this case.
I know, but
I understand you wanted to get it off your chest, but for the record, I just have to, that
Okay.
has no weight here. Respectfully.
Thank you. It's
Thank you.
okay.
We just have one extension, 6-month extension
All right,
request.
so I'm back on now, right?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Case number 3134, application of PSG Construction, Kara Paul Grossman of 55 Regent Drive, Lido Beach, New York, and LG Long Beach Realty LLC of 180 East Park Avenue, Long Beach, New York, for a 6-month extension of the variance granted by the Zoning Board of Appeals for construction of a new 2-story commercial building at 180 East Park Avenue, Long Beach, New York, also known as Section 59, Block 110, Lots 32 through 35, on the Nassau County Land and Tax Map. Who will introduce a motion on this application for an extension?
I'll introduce a motion to grant the extension.
6 months?
I'll second.
Okay. Chairman Morelli's introduced a motion to grant the extension for 6 months. Commissioner Alvarado has seconded the motion. Commissioner Markowitz?
Grant.
Commissioner Lees?
Grant.
Commissioner Brooks?
Grant.
Commissioner Alvarado?
Grant.
Commissioner De Pasquale?
Grant.
Chairman Morelli?
Grant.
This application for an extension has been granted.
Thank you very much, everyone. Have a good evening. Meeting is now closed.
Robin, tell me when we're off.